Hello, I'm Bob Shaye, the President and CEO of AFCEA International, and I'd like to make a few comments about Veterans Day. I want to thank all the veterans for your service, whether you've served in combat or whether it's been in peacetime. Your service is the foundation upon which all freedoms are built, not only those of Americans, but those of our partner nations and those who enjoy the same types of freedoms or would like to have the same types of freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States. You have rallied to the call to defeat oppressive forces, and your presence has been a deterrent for war and a guarantor of peace around the world in threatening times. And without your commitment and the commitment of your families and the sacrifices you've made, the values that we subscribe to as a nation would ring hollow. And speaking of the families, I'd like to thank them as well, and particularly them, those who give so much yet ask for so little. When we go out the door, you have to pick up the pieces, and I want to thank you for what you've done in that regard.
My name is Nancy Temple, and I'm the Vice President of HR for AFCEA International. My favorite veteran is my father. He was a career Air Force officer serving more than 30 years. It afforded he and my mother and their children a wonderful life, a life filled with opportunity and friendship, and an opportunity to serve our nation. A challenging memory that I had is that when I was 8 years old, my father was away from our family for a year, serving during the Vietnam War, and it was very, very challenging time for us that he had to be away. But we were thankful for his service then, and we are thankful that he served now.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Susan Foti. I'm the Professional Development Coordinator here at AFCEA. My favorite veteran is my husband. He was deployed twice to Iraq. Well, this was my being with my husband and being married to him was my first experience with the military, and it was fantastic. The community that surrounds you when you're there is incredible. It made me able to give my children the kind of upbringing I had, in that I could leave them go around the neighborhood because everybody was the same. Everybody looked out for each other, and everybody knew what they were going. Everybody else was going through. Everybody stepped up to help when needed. The Army has started to, over the years, especially with the long war in Iraq and all that sort of stuff, really stepped up for families. They made family readiness groups where people would so there would be a support system for people, even the people who didn't stay on base or who went home and moved around and whatever. So, well, I'm thankful that we have people who are willing to join the military and defend the United States, and I'm also thankful for getting to know all of the people who supported their veterans and were military spouses and dependents.
Up or anything, feel free to ask me questions.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Julie Walter. I am with the Defense Events here at AFCEA. My favorite person, I guess, my favorite veteran, it would be my dad. We've had several people in our family who have served, but my dad is nearest and dearest to my heart. He is career Navy. He loved it. He was service. He was on destroyers, aircraft carriers, served all over the world. So we were really, really proud of him. It was kind of difficult being home, as I'm sure it is for any family. I think the families and the wives do an immense amount to support the troops who were overseas and serving. The 6-month deployments got pretty long, but we had ways of entertaining ourselves, and he would come back with just the best stories, and we still have stories today.
Hi, my name is Bob Wood, and I'm the Executive Vice President of AFCEA International. Very happy to wish all of you a happy Veterans Day, and particularly to talk about some favorite veterans I have in my family, in particular my brother Bill Wood. Our service goes back in the family a long ways. My grandfather James was one of the first pilots to land on the Langley, an aircraft carrier, the first aircraft carrier. We're proud of what he did during World War I. My father served in the Korean War, as well served in Vietnam, and inspired me in my service. I'd like to talk about my brother Bill, who was a warrant officer in Vietnam and flew light observation helicopters. Served well, courageously. Frankly, some of the things he went through are remarkable. He happened to end up flying through all that Agent Orange that was sprayed on the border with Laos and Vietnam. Suffered from that exposure, but never let it stop him from not only serving productively as a banker and a variety of other tasks and jobs, but he also was very involved in Seattle, Washington, in serving the veteran community. Helped establish programs in the prisons in Washington to help veterans who were incarcerated to get reconnected with productive lives. He also worked with talking homeless veterans off the streets. And ultimately, I was very honored to be invited, after Bill had passed away, by the city of Seattle and the governor of Washington, come out and participate in the opening and the establishment of a homeless center for veterans, which allowed them to have homes and build back productive lives in a community that was welcoming to them. And I was so proud to go out there and open the William James Wood Center for Homeless Veterans that has thrived and continues to grow. And it's a very proud day when I can look up and see his name on the building and know that what he did will be remembered by the citizens, and particularly the veterans who needed that service and needed his, frankly, ability to talk and relate to them and bring them back into a productive life in that community.
Hi, I'm Beth Cooper. I work for AFCEA. In the 1950s, a young nurse in Connecticut was working in the VA hospital, and she noticed that a lot of the people that she worked with, the nurses who were really good, had served in Pearl Harbor. So she liked to travel and she liked to meet people. She decided to join the Air Force, first stationed in Alabama, then stationed in California. In California, she met her husband Chuck, who went on to become an Air Force colonel. She loved her job, but because when she became pregnant, the Air Force didn't have uniforms that would fit her, she was no longer able to do it. I'm thankful for people like her. Her name is Beth Cooper also. She's my mother-in-law. We share the same name and also the same love of our country. Thank you, veterans.
I'm Bob Ackerman, the editor-in-chief of Signal magazine. Both my parents served as uniformed active duty personnel in World War II. John Warren Ackerman and Alba Ackerman, whose maiden name was Alba de Padua. Both of them were very proud of their service every day of their lives after the war. They died in the 1980s. So when the World War II Memorial was being dedicated in Washington, I wanted to be a part of that somehow. I didn't want to take a seat that belonged to another deserving veteran who might be coming. I didn't want to try and weasel into a particularly good viewing spot for a similar reason. And then our former boss here at AFCEA, Herb Brown, offered us the day off if we worked as volunteers. So I volunteered to help people get around the service, the celebration, and all the festivities that went on in the World War II Memorial. That was in May, and it was a perfect day in Washington. The temperature was in the 70s, humidity was negligible, and as I got ready to set out for the event, my wife gave me a couple of items that she made, a graphic designer. She had found wartime photos of my two parents, and she made copies of them and then attached them to a couple of old political buttons. So I took them with me for the wartime celebration, and it was a celebration of the greatest generation and all the wonderful things they did to ensure our freedom. I had a wonderful time that day, mingling with some of the vets, helping people get around, and just sharing in the incredible joy that all of us felt when we thought about what they did. And I can honestly say my parents were with me on that day. So I was able to express my thanks to them and for all the other colleagues who served with them in the war, including those who didn't return, because all our freedoms today are due to what they did back then.
Hi, my name is Tina Jordan, and I'm the Vice President of Membership at AFCEA International. On this Veterans Day, I would like to honor my father, Colonel Jack Sanders, United States Air Force retired. My father's love of God, country, and family made a big impression on me growing up. He was a fighter pilot and loved the A-10 Warthog. I'd also like to honor my mother, Elaine Sanders. I didn't realize until I grew up the sacrifices that she made honoring my father's career. She never complained about the many moves and having to leave friends, and she kept our family focused on the positives of being a military family. I know it wasn't easy on her, but she loved my father and our country, and she served with distinction as well. So to all military out there and all the military spouses, I'd like to thank you all for your service and wish you a happy Veterans Day.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Quinn. I work with the AFCEA Educational Foundation. My favorite veteran is my grandfather. His name is Charles E. George. He was a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army in World War II. He was stationed in New Guinea, working with their supply logistics, but he started as a private who fixed vehicles and equipment. He was very private about sharing any stories from his service time, but there is a story that has surfaced in our family about him supposedly awakening someone to obtain a signature and the person turning around and it being General MacArthur. So we're passing that around our family, even though my grandfather has passed, and we cannot confirm or deny whether it was indeed General MacArthur that he saw.
I'm Megan Lee. I am Associate Editor for Signal Magazine, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my grandfather. His name was Charles Alexander Whitaker Jr. Before he went into World War II, he was actually a quarterback for University of Tennessee and played in one of the Sugar Bowls. And he enlisted in the Army as a forward scout in 1942. He was in the 378th Infantry Regiment, 95th Division, Company H. He fought in the French campaign and the German campaign. He was shell-shocked during the war, so the men behind him and in front of him were both killed. He was sent to a French hospital where he recovered. He really taught us to love our country, to be thankful for the freedoms that we had. And so today I just want to say to all the veterans who are serving and have served, thank you very much for your service.
Hi, I'm George Seifers with Signal Magazine, and I just want to thank all the veterans out there all over the world and your families for the sacrifices that you make. We know it's not easy, and so we really do appreciate your dedication and professionalism. Thank you.
In these challenging times, as we commemorate Veterans Day, I'd ask you to kind of pause and reflect on the oath that we all took when we entered service to our country. And that oath said, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same being the Constitution. Veterans Day is a good time to kind of reflect on that commitment that we all made, whether it was decades ago, years ago, or days ago. So on behalf of AFCEA International, I'd like to extend my thanks, my best wishes, and Godspeed to all of you on this Veterans Day. Semper Fidelis.